Yay, hello, and welcome to this week Training Tuesday Live for Magna Marketers, where our goal is always
Am I just lagging?
I don't know. I was gonna say, I'm like, did we lose her? I'm like, was that me? And then I'm like, but Mike's still moving.
Okay, so you're good, I'm good, but Jessica, who's introducing us, froze up somehow. So give us a little bit there as we work on the details.
We can be patient. We're all used to technology. And poor Jessica, yes. She's like, how's the echo? She's all worried about the sound.
Right. Like, oh. She was worried. She was taking a look at the details, and
she got a good screenshot when she got frozen.
Right.
I always get the really awkward screen
grab. Could be much worse, right?
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's a flattering one. And well, we're going to get Jessica back in here, but we're going to talk about Instagram today, and Jessica's going to come in and do her part, but we have a special guest with us, and that is Jenn Herman, who's going to be with us today. So let me just go through, tell you a little bit more about Jenn for those of you who may be new to Jenn. Jenn's a social media consultant, speaker, and globally recognized Instagram expert. She's a forefront blogger on Instagram, and that's what we're going to do our primary topic today. And Jenn's won the title of a top 10 social media blog over multiple years. We got Jessica back as I introduce Jenn, sought after international speaker. We're glad to be able to have her here today in this business background, includes administration, sales, human resources, marketing. She's been featured in Fox News, BBC, Yahoo Finance, Huffington Post, The Verge, CBS Radio LA, and more. And she's a multiple-time author. Instagram for Business for Dummies, Instagram for Dummies, Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing, and Stop Guessing. And hold that up again, because that's the one that is new.
The new one.
The Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing is available for pre-orders now, and it's going to have the official launch. I think that's next week. It's the 25th. Is that coming up there?
August 25th.
Just so I can say it, the pre-launch is available at socialmediabook.shop. I should drop that. I'll drop that in the notes here as we welcome Jenn, and welcome back, Jessica.
Yay. So excited to have you, Jenn. Sorry about that. I don't even know where I dropped off, but you know, internet comes and goes here and there. But super pumped for your book launch with your besties from the 360 squad. That's so cool. And also love having you just in all things talking Instagram, because literally you've wrote the book twice on it. You like to keep on the up and up. So who better to have on the show to talk about all the changes that are happening in Instagram other than yourself, because you're a wealth of information. So I like to ask just like the first question. I know this is kind of a loaded question, but what are some of the changes that brands need to start paying attention to with Instagram right now?
So there's kind of like some big news. We'll get to that. But things to pay attention to, they're releasing more and more functionality on desktop these days. So you can watch live videos now on desktop, which is huge. A lot of people don't want to monopolize their mobile device for a longer, podcast webinar style live video. So being able to watch those on desktop means people can still use their phones and send text messages, or be able to watch them in a more comfortable environment on a screen versus, holding your phone. So they've been rolling out a lot of new features for desktop, which is great. So if you haven't used Instagram for desktop recently, head on over there, go explore, play around, see what's available to you, because it's probably going to give you a little bit more functionality. If you're super used to being, limited on desktop, there's definitely more going on there. Another fun thing they rolled out recently was pinning comments. So this is something where now if somebody comments on your post, you can pin that comment. And that's something that's can be valuable. So, like, I don't really use it all that often, but if you're doing things where you're asking questions or you want audience participation, if you'd run a contest and you want to pin the winner, you can do that. If you've asked for favorite tips on something, like if you're kind of, a little crowdsourcing with your audience, you could pin the favorite, responses for things. It was one comment could be pinned. Now it looks like they're testing 3 comments can be pinned. So whether or not everyone has that doesn't look like it. So I don't know if it's a rollout or a test, because they don't actually tell us anything. They just go, oh, here you go.
Try this. Try to break it. Let's see what works. Like, I wonder, with kind of going back to your first announcement really quick, about like sharing more on desktop. For some, it may not seem, like you said, difference. Like, they want to be using their phone more often, but like this omni-sensory kind of world that we live in now, where we're watching Netflix and things on TV and then using our phone at the same time. And I've started seeing more often now, even just yesterday when I was watching some stuff on Facebook Watch, it said, watch this from your TV. So I'm wondering if that's kind of like how they're progressing and thinking about stories, because more and more people are following, like, instead of just television programs, they're following their favorite brands or, creators, let's just say. And I'm wondering if that's kind of their MO of how they're evolving and what they're thinking about, even beyond just the desktop, because they're like suggesting it to you now. So it's something for brands to think about when they're creating,
It makes sense. And especially with IGTV being the long form content, which, it's still like the evil stepchild that nobody really wants to pay attention to, but it's still there. It's still relevant. But yeah, that could be something that would be a similar thing, right? Like Facebook watch this on your TV, IGTV, watch this on TV, as a means to get that longer form content and keep people on there, which again means more opportunity for advertising, means more opportunity for understanding audiences to better format algorithms and all these sorts of things. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. I haven't seen that happen yet, but it makes perfect sense that if Facebook's doing it, we can obviously assume that at some point we would see some movement in that direction for Instagram too.
Yeah, just more and more eyeballs kind of going to those stories. And I love your example of the pinned comments for just that. Like, when we were doing a contest, you post on Instagram, people may be seeing it days after, right, that it ended, but having that pinned comment there can definitely save with that, or even, featuring someone or question and answer. I mean, there's all kinds of ways for engagement, as well as your audience highlighting them, or even something that you're putting at the bottom of that post, a resource, a link for them to go to find out more information. So like, I could think of like you sharing your Instagram tips, right? Like we were just talking about Instagram Reels and how much you love them. But which we'll talk about, but you sharing maybe a post about it, and I could definitely see as the comments, like you're maybe pinning the YouTube video on it, or your blog, and where people could find out more info too. So I love that.
Yeah, or if you're really bad like me and write too much, which I don't recommend for the average person on Instagram to max out characters. You have 2,200 characters. I have been known to max them out. And it's such a pain in the butt, because you get to the bottom and you're like, oh, I need like 80 more characters. And you have to start finding places to delete. But what you could do is post with a ... continued, and you could finish it in a comment and pin your comment. So now you'd actually have one long thread. Again, not probably ideal for the average person. But again, depending on how you use the platform and things like that, there's a lot of creative ways that you could use pinned comments for your own content to get that additional exposure, or like you said, for other people, showcasing them, highlighting your audience, your members, any of those sorts of things. It could be a really good way to build up some of that engagement.
Yeah, we actually know that we're not even hit all of the updates yet, but we do have a question that came in real quick here from Sarah. Hey, Sarah, hope you are doing well, my friend. But she says, do you think Instagram will ever allow services to broadcast live, for instance, StreamYard? So like streaming live to Instagram. Do you think?
And it's kind of one of those questions that like I just don't necessarily have. I mean, I wish I had the bat phone. I could be like, so Instagram, when are you doing these things? I don't have a lot of insight onto this, and I have a lot of hesitations as to yes or no. I feel like eventually they have to embrace this. So many people are streaming with a variety of different tools, whether it's something like StreamYard, whether it's Ecamm, whatever, you're trying to, multicast to multiple devices, you want to bring in guests. But the reason why I feel hesitation is because Instagram Live is still formatted for a vertical video. It is still formatted for mobile consumption. And as much as brands and marketers want like what you see now with all the things that pop up on the screen for great production, Instagram Live is still meant to be a mobile kind of stories-based focus. Could I see them finding a way to integrate that with something like IGTV for longer form video and permanent consumption? Yes. But in terms of Instagram Live, I just don't see them wanting to embrace it. That doesn't mean it won't happen. As long as Instagram stays true to Instagram, it'll never happen. But since the original co-founders left a couple of years ago, we've seen a lot of Facebookification of tools within Instagram. So it could, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah, there'd just be a lot of shifts, as you talked about. It's still a app first, mobile first type scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, but you could use it in a different way, even Sarah, like maybe showing the behind the scenes, or or streaming live with your mobile phone set up there. Or I love, like, now Facebook, you can take some of your live videos and save clips of that video, and then you can save and share it onto Instagram and maybe entice people to want to go back and watch the full thing. Because most of the times live videos, the length of it, I don't know, maybe Jen, you'll know better on this, but I don't know if it's meant that somebody's going to sit and watch it as long as they would potentially on another platform that isn't consumed on their mobile. So maybe just taking snippets of the show, or showing some kind of access that they only get from watching your stories could be another way of, still enticing them to get to the end of actually watching the full video, but just in another way of going about it.
And one of the things I've seen people do, I haven't personally done it, but I actually really want to try it. I've just been really lazy, in full disclosure. But what you can do when you go live on Instagram, you can actually now share an image on your Instagram Live. So what it does is create the picture-in-picture. Your Instagram Live video shrinks small as the picture-in-picture, and you can put up any vertical image onto, not video, but photo, onto your live. So basically what you could do is create a slide deck. So you would basically create almost what would be a PowerPoint, but you save them all as JPEGs, upload them to your camera or to your mobile device, and then you import them into your Instagram Live. So you could still find some creative ways that if you wanted to have, something comes up like as a bumper, something's coming up as like a segue, something's coming up with key points you want people to take away. So there's some really fun things you can do within Instagram Live right now that is, more than what we had before, but that's still keeping it true and inherent to Instagram Live features and functionality.
Yeah, so with you at the bank, it could be like new features that you're rolling out, right? Like, or services, and then having that image up there, and then somebody's there live talking about it or answering questions, things like that. But Sarah says, great ideas, or good ideas. Thank you very much. All right. So yeah, I love all these updates already. We kind of started talking about some of the others briefly, but what's another update that Instagram has rolled out?
So, and I literally was like, I have to pull up my most recent post to remember all the things that have come out. So
Reels is one of them that we mentioned, right? So we didn't really talk about.
I didn't really talk about Reels. But I also wanted to mention, so they're currently working on, because we were just talking about this, for, StreamYard type things, but Instagram and Facebook are working on a simulcast feature, which would actually allow you to go live on both Facebook and Instagram at the same time. So whereas right now, we don't have that functionality, you have to kind of do two devices or, that sort of thing. Instagram is working on this. So that is something that is moving in that direction. When it comes out, what it looks like, we don't know, because again, you're going to be recording vertical video, and how is that going to translate onto, Facebook? But that's something to keep your eye open for, because that is something that's coming. And then one of the other things that came out recently with Instagram is they made changes, you've probably noticed, to IGTV Previews. So it used to be that IGTV gave you a 1-minute preview in the feed. Well, now they cut that to 15 seconds. So if you were used to getting that preview, now people are only getting basically a story clip, and then they have to keep watching on IGTV if they want to watch the rest of the video. So that's something to really pay attention to, where, again, no matter what, your IGTV video should be starting out strong. There is no rambling, mumbling, taking your sweet time to introduce yourself. You now have 15 seconds to capture their attention enough to make them click that keep watching button. And I can tell you, I rarely click the keep watching button. You really have to get my attention. So if you're creating content for IGTV, make sure you're keeping that in mind with your strategy to have that really strong, powerful entrance. Don't say your name, don't say your brand. Literally, what's the question you're answering? What's the topic you're diving into? Give them something tangible in 15 seconds that they go, I have to know the rest of that when they do keep watching. You have to suck them in quickly.
Yeah, I even like that with. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, I think that's really good advice there. Just because, I mean, you don't really have any other. There's no trimming. There's no anything like that. It's just going to be what it is. So that and that changes the game, because how many have we seen where it's like, okay, let's just let some people come in, or we're just kind of rolling and start. Hey, I'm so and so. You know, I'm guilty of that. But 15 seconds, boom, you gotta capture.
And you can ramble when you're about 2 minutes in, but for the first 2 minutes, no rambling. No socializing.
They're with you at that point. But I've seen people that have actually recorded it specifically for like IGTV, and I love that they've taken like one magic moment from like maybe the middle, and not necessarily think that has to be the beginning, right? Like maybe do your take all the way through. So like the normal, like what you're going to talk about, yada yada, to kind of pull people in, and then get into some goods, and then your intro or whatever. But I love I'm a huge fan of dry bar comedy, and I watch like their videos and to kind of cheer you up, get you laughing throughout the day. But they'll take like a nugget of one of their best like landed jokes, right, and bring that in for that 15 seconds at the beginning, and then I'm like, oh my god, I have to hear the rest of this, right?
Exactly.
Or something that was said, a question that was asked to somebody else, or whatever it is, just to hook you in. So it doesn't have to be at the beginning per se.
Yeah.
Just something magical from it.
And that's awesome. Like, because it works, right? Like that proves the power of editing to do them well. Because if you're going to preview it to the feed, you've got to find a way to get people to translate that into keep watching on IGTV. And most people are not willing to push that button unless you really hook them. So the fact that they're going through that editing process, finding those nuggets that they know are going to suck in their audience and give them what they want, it's totally worth that time to make that editing process. And like you said, you can still have your intro and everything. You're just doing that at the 42-second mark instead of the 1 second mark, when you've already got them over on IGTV and you've already got them hooked in with the goods, and they want to stick around for more at that point.
Exactly. And you don't have to be like a videographer or anything. You can use like a tool like Wave .video and edit it right there, and they make it in the format that you need. So there's no guessing involved, and you can change it around. So play around with that.
All right, so let's talk about Reels, because we know that's what everyone wants to talk about. I knew if we talked about that, we wouldn't get to the other announcements. So I was like, let's go through all the other highlights. All right, so Instagram Reels dropped like last week, relatively recently. And it's interesting. I was very vocal about my opinions on it. So if you weren't familiar with it, it is basically Instagram's copycat of TikTok. Just like Stories copycatted Snapchat, I was a TikTok copycat. No, I'm like, see, they all have too many similar names, and I'm like, they're all so Reels copied TikTok, and the idea is to be, again, this kind of short form video type content. It is not photos. Stories, you can do photos, text, all these different things. Reels is videos. It is videos only, and they can be anywhere from 3 to 15 seconds. Again, mobile design, right? Mobile upload only. They're designed for consumption on mobile devices. All of these things are all, very much focused on this. There's a lot of limitations. There's a lot of things that you're used to on TikTok that you don't have on Reels. There's a couple new things to Reels that you don't have on TikTok. But upfront, like bottom line, it is a very cumbersome process. Everybody that has done TikTok and moved over to Reels says Reels is so much more complicated. I personally don't use TikTok, so I can't directly compare. But I storyboarded in my mind, because I'm a neurotic freak and I can't just like film something. I have to like know what I want to do. So I storyboarded it in my head, and that took probably a good hour of my life. And then to film a 15-second video took me more than 45 minutes. And I was like, why am I doing this?
And I've seen like with Reels, when they're sharing, it's like one of two of whatever. Like, are they all numbered? Like, I was trying to figure that out. Like, I've seen the people that have dove in and did the 15-second Reels. It's not all posted together because they're separate 15-second entries, right? But then it's like numbered on there, which I thought was
I don't know if they're doing that themselves or how it, like, I don't think it just numbers yours individually. They may be putting that on there.
I wasn't sure if that was like part of the feature or what.
I honestly don't know for sure, but I haven't seen anything that puts any numbering on when I've done any uploads. But yeah, it is annoying because it's only 15 seconds, right? So where TikTok can go up to a minute, Instagram stories, you can do multiple 15-second clips stitched together. Reels is 15 seconds. Will they change it? I'm sure they will. I mean, let's face it, they have to evolve at some point. Personally, for me, I think what they should have done was taken all of these Reels features and just added them to stories. I think everything would have run so much more smoothly. I think stories has so many things that we functionally we're used to. There's so many good tools in there that if they had just taken a couple of these Reels things and added them to stories and bulked that up, that would have been enough competition. That would have been enough of a new gimmick. But by creating this whole new standalone thing that doesn't have the functionality we're used to in stories, it's not quite the same functionality as TikTok. You don't have all the things in the middle. People are kind of like, nah. And it's the first few days, of course, everyone was going crazy. But most people that I've talked to and what I've seen in like the forums and chats is they're just like, no, until they do something more with it, it's not worth our time. We'll keep filming on TikTok and sharing it to our stories or to Reels or whatever at that point. So again, it's doing better than IGTV. But it's kind of not like, we really need you to step your game up, Instagram. Like, you gone are the days where you can just show up and be like, we have a new tool and everyone's going to love you. Like, there is so much other competition that they're going to need to do more to really make this be any sort of long-term competition.
Yeah, I don't know, Mike, have you seen any brands or anyone like doing it successfully? I've only seen like individuals.
Yeah, I've just mostly seen individuals doing reels so far. Yeah. But that's the same thing that I've heard other people talking about, is just the length of time it takes to make a reel versus to make a video on TikTok. The tools there, they were comparing them. Somebody outlined, it was in a post, and they were talking about, they were saying on average they could do something in 30 seconds or under on TikTok kind of thing. And it was 5 minutes minimum for reels at this point in time. So, over the course of time, that adds up for somebody who's used to it. So.
And that's the thing, like, again, I mean, because I wrote my blog post about it, and like, look, I realize I'm not adept to this type of content creation. Could I have done it faster than 45 minutes? Possibly, but I'm not adept. And a lot of the audience isn't adept. And if it's going to take someone 45 minutes to film a 15-second clip, they're not going to do it. I mean, 20 minutes, you start being like, okay, well, there's enough ROI on the back end. If this is a high enough converting type post for me, then it's totally worth it. But at 45 minutes, that is a big chunk of time. And the frustration and the stress levels, like, as that time wears on, so you start getting even more irritable with the process. It's definitely a couple things to be aware of that are definitely different than TikTok, are that, and why it takes so long is because when you film a clip on Reels, you have to select all of your effects before you film that clip. Then you film that clip, you stop. Then you have to select all of your effects and film the next clip. It's not like you shoot a video in sequence and then go back and say, add this effect. You can put on your normal Instagram filters to the whole thing at the end, but if you want these additional features and effects, you have to add each one to each clip. So when you've gone and filmed the whole clip and went, oh, shoot, didn't put that effect on there, delete, add the effect, restart. So it's a lot of starting and stopping and trying to get to the process to be complete. I mean, I jokingly, but seriously, wrote my blog post with step-by-step instructions to record one reel, 21 steps, 21 to film one clip. I was like,
it's a process. So does Reels even have analytics into it too? Do you have that ability?
So you can see likes and comments. If you open up the reel on the bottom, you can see your likes and your comments, and then you get your view count. That's it. That's all you get. There's in your overall insights for Instagram, if you go to your insights on your profile, the reach of your reel is included in your overall reach for your account on any given day or week. But that's the only thing in there. There's nothing in insights about it. You don't have retention. You don't have, exposure. You have view counts. You don't know what that reach was. You don't know if you reached, 3,000 and got 1,000 views. You don't know, you just see the view count. So there's it again, from a business perspective, it's like we still want so much more for this to be able to show us what's working. Did we gain followers from it? Did people click on anything? Did people find me in hashtags? Did they find me in Explore? Like, where are they finding us? These are all things we want to know, and we have nothing to support it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's really three keys where Instagram needs to be watching or developing. Number one, I mean, is it being adopted so that people are actually watching them? They want to watch them, you know. So is it spurring the interest of the user of the app? But two, then they're going to have to take a look at making the process simpler. You know, simplifying the steps. 21's too many on that, and the length of that. And then of course,
10 is too many.
For marketers, for business use, they're going to have to keep advancing analytics to show something that's going to be helpful in there. So I think that one's probably the easy one, is to be able to show more analytics over time. It's going to be tougher to kind of, people get used to creating them. It's like, now, we scrapped that. We made it a lot easier now, but then you have to learn something else. So that's going to be a problem. And then you still got to see.
Of just knowing. I'm sorry.
No, you just got to see if people start watching.
With your first one. Yeah, with your first point that you said about the audience of making sure that it's being adapted, like that's probably the first thing you need to think about anyway, is like before you spend time on it, are people using it, right? Like versus diving all in unless you're really going to go all in.
When you do go in, like if you go to the Explore page and you open a reel, you can swipe up and down to go look at more reels, which is great. But again, the thing is on Instagram, we're used to left, right? In stories, you're tapping or rotating left and right through a story. So when you go into a reel, it's not going anywhere. And then it's all of a sudden it's an up and a down, which is TikTok-esque. I get that. But it was like, again, you took a functionality that we're all used to on one platform, which is a left-right swipe, and now it's an up-down swipe. But it's like, so if I'm in stories, I'm doing this. If I'm in reels, I'm doing this. And so there's definitely some adoption things that need to be done. And again, algorithmically, right now there just isn't enough content for reels on Instagram. I think that will eventually change. But yeah, when you're scrolling through, I am seeing everything, right? Like there is no selected content for me in what I'm viewing in reels. It is not being like, okay, like I go to my Explore page. It is so tailored. Instagram knows everything I want to see in the Explore page, and it is perfectly curated for the things I want to see. Reels, I am like 93 ways from Sunday. Like I don't even have a clue what I'm looking at for content, partially because there's not enough, but also the algorithm hasn't learned from us yet, right? So it's not picking up the AI like it's doing on the Explore page. And so there still leaves a lot to be desired from, like you said, that adoption of just the users. And if the users aren't swiping through and telling the algorithm what it likes, and they're not paying attention to the videos, then people stop creating them. People stop creating them. People stop watching them. Like there goes, Reels. So I'm sure there's a lot of brainstorming sessions going on up at, Facebook headquarters with all of this, but we'll see what they come out with.
Especially with the fear of TikTok going away, like so many people that have really flocked to that platform. I think maybe that's been their MO of rushing to maybe launch something that wasn't quite ready-ish. But
I'm sure it got pushed up because of that. But again, and I get it, done is better than perfect kind of thing. Like how many times have we said, just launch the course, just get your video out there, just get the content out there. I get that. But also when you are going up against something with such a rabid fan base as TikTok, you can't come in and half-ass it. And this just really isn't strong enough in terms of competition. Had they, like I said, had they just beefed up stories and said, we're going to add this align feature, and we're going to add these effects options, and we're going to add, the ability to do some of these things that you normally do in the TikTok, like the start stop motion and all those sorts of things. Great. Like they totally could have done that, and now we wouldn't have so easy Instagram. Exactly. Easy Instagram.
I gotta complicate things.
Exactly.
So is there other updates? Because it seems like they've been on a roll, like with just one after another after another. I mean, I know there's been so many. A couple of weeks ago, they were talking about like shop in the Discover section, and other things like that. Any other ones that really stand out to you that brands should really pay attention to, though?
So they are working on like a new shoppable functionality, which I believe they're calling is it checkout or something like that? So it's augmenting what we already know is shoppable posts, and it's allowing that shoppable process to happen within Instagram. This is only being like most normal big things like this. It's only being tested with a handful of select brands. They usually pick like 30. In which case you can click on the post, see the, just like you would on a shoppable post, you can see the data and information, the price, availability, that kind of thing. But rather than navigating to their brand website and completing checkout on the website, you're actually completing the checkout within Instagram. I've been saying for years that this is going to be happening. They're going to do as much as they can to integrate within the app. They don't want you leaving the app. The moment you leave and go close the sale on someone's website, you're less likely to return to Instagram. If they can get you to cash out right there and take your money, and then you just kind of keep scrolling, oh, here's another ad. Oh, here's another product, So take all my money. So I definitely think we're going to see more of that when that rolls out globally to, all business users. I don't know, but we'll definitely be seeing more of that, in-app integration for purchasing and that sort of thing. And more, like you said, they've got the shop feature built into Explore, so you can go in there and shop and that sort of thing. So there's definitely, changes that they're adding to that functionality, which is good. I mean, from a business perspective, for sure. From the person scrolling through Instagram who now needs stupid things she never needed 2 minutes ago, maybe not so great.
I think Mike and I were talking about that, like what we shop for on Instagram. I think you said you've bought a few things just from Instagram having like it right there, where you can click on it and get to their website, right? What was the last thing you purchased on there? Do you remember?
For me, it was a bracelet.
Yeah.
I got the bracelet on there. So they were advertising some pieces there. So that, well, one of the problems for me was always like, Jen, you talked about it. It was like, there was always a little clunkiness to it because it would kind of, I'm still in Instagram, but I'm in a browser, but so it's not like I'm in Chrome or Safari though. So it's not remembering some of my saved stuff, and so then it's a pain in the butt. But I noticed here recently that, they at least gave me that kind of remember your information or autofill your information kind of feature, so that so they're making it easier for me to stay in Instagram and take care of that. And I could edit those fields and say, okay, what would I normally populate? First name, last name, here's my phone, that type of thing.
Nice.
So that if I was filling that out, it'll be faster. So I appreciate that. Yeah,
because it's got to be better for the customers that are putting the brands and businesses that are putting their shop on there, because I do the same thing, Mike, because I'm like, oh, I don't have time maybe to fill this out, or I've done the process so many times where I've half filled it out and then something happens where I close out and then I'm just like, what was the name of the company again? So I try
to hit open in Safari and then it goes over and it lost everything I was doing. I was like, no, that's not what I wanted.
Such a pain. So I'm sure there's just sales that have been lost and just friction that's been added to where customers then abort, the sales process. So hopefully this is a win-win for everyone.
They're moving.
And get them to increase their ad spend too, to promote it.
Yeah.
Jen Cole.
I saw Jen's calling. That's awesome.
Oh my God. I just bought the cutest mask on Instagram just this week. Sequins. Oh, okay. I've seen that sequins mask. I'm like, I don't know if it's really protecting me, but dang, it's cute. So you have to see a picture of that, Jen, when you get it.
Right. And I've got like all the glitter ones. I have like 5 different masks because of course, why not? And I've got like all different like glitter styles and everything. And I was like, I went on Etsy like back when, when they started like even hinting at wearing masks, I jumped on Etsy and I was like, I'm going to buy them now because they're going to turn around and make this a thing, especially being in California. And so every now and then I'll see another one or I'll go on Etsy and go look for them. But yeah, so I've got all the sparkly glitter.
You're always like so fashionable and put together. I love it. Of course you have these already. I would not expect anything less. It says Jen's trends for a reason. She's a trendsetter and helps people stay on top of these trends. So even though time is like flown so fast, I want to definitely before we ask the last question is first, mention how anyone that's watching this or brands that want to stay up to date with what's happening on Instagram and all these changes and then explanations of them when we're like, what the heck's going on? I know that I personally know exactly where to go, which is the group that you have on Facebook. But maybe tell everyone a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Facebook group is definitely the place to hang out. If you go to Facebook and search Jenn's Trends in social media, and I know Mike's going to share the link for you guys as well, but it's my Facebook group, and if you search Jenn's Trends in social media, you'll find the page, and the group page is great, but group is where everything goes down, and it's actually where I share all breaking news related to Instagram. So when something releases, when something launches, when something's being tested, when I've heard things from the inner workings of, all my little network of people and all the different things across the world, I share them to the Facebook group. And it's not just for Instagram, but that's definitely where I share everything related to Instagram breaking news. And then we have great group discussions. It's a good, safe place where you can come and ask questions about anything social media related. People come in and ask questions and kind of crowdsource help, and whether it's on tools or suggestions and things all the time. So definitely come hang out in the Facebook group. And then if anything's going on, like for example, I shared, that we're going to be here on this. I share that to the Facebook group. So that's kind of like my diehard community of followers that I make sure they are up to date on everything.
I hear it from you before I hear it from anything else. Usually I'm like, dang, I look smart because I'm following Jenn. I'm able to share that on. I'm like, so I heard, here's what's coming. And not just heard it. Here's her 3,500 word blog post on it, and they just announced it 15 minutes ago. Like, girl's on it.
Every now and then. Sometimes it takes a couple days, but yeah, I try. Yeah. I try to get on there as quick as I can.
Yeah, because you only get a few things.
I still had, kind of related to that long post you talked about where you said that, sometimes you run into those limits. So, some people are breaking that down, and instead of adding it all in the description field, they're using carousel and putting it across multiple photos. So that's not necessarily something that Instagram is implementing, obviously, but it's maybe is it a newer user trend, or is it just that I'm seeing that a little bit more? But it seems like to me the carousels with kind of the messages across, kind of like a presentation a little bit, is a little bit more in use. I don't know. Is that what do you say about that?
I've seen it here and there. I personally haven't noticed it as a trend by any means. Now, so when you're, just so people do understand, when you're scrolling through a carousel, the images change, but the caption does not. It's one caption for the whole post. So you don't get to add more captions. But yeah, sometimes people will put more stuff in the carousel, and put more text.
They're putting text in the carousel. Yeah. Yeah,
I discourage this because most people don't react to that type of visual content. Now, that being said, test. I also tell people not to, fill their feed with selfies, and my entire feed is photos of me. Not because I want to, but because when I put my face up there with Instagram updates or breaking news or, 2 or 3 words, my audience knows that I now have important information to share, and they're more likely to pay attention to it when they see my face. So I've tested, that's what works, that's what I put out there. So you can test out, what works with all that verbiage and, putting carousels on there and putting additional things in there. How much of it people read is always a question. And you don't get that from your insights. Your insights won't tell you how many they scrolled through or if they scrolled through. It's kind of like Instagram stories where when you get to 3, you start bordering on retention. You get to 5, we start being okay, we start to see drops, and by 7, you've lost their attention. So on a carousel, it could be the same thing, especially with lots of text. If you're leaving your call to action to post number 8 and people are scrolling through 2 or 3 and being like, nah, not worth it, and bouncing out, they're never seeing that call to action. So test, see what works. Try putting some text in there, try maybe mixing up the colors. Anything's worth trying to see if it works. That being said, trying it once does not count as trying it. It's something I usually tell people to try it for 4 to 6 weeks. So 1 post a week for a month. Do that. If you normally post 3 to 5 times a week, make one of them that process. See how those start to convert. See how those are driving traffic. See what those are doing, what you want them to do, and then determine yes or no, is this working for me? It's just you can't just throw up a video and be like, oh, video didn't work for me. Like, no, if your audience has never seen a video from you, it's probably not going to perform well the first time you do one. So always test, and then kind of figure out what works for you and your audience.
Excellent.
And I, real quick, you had mentioned, posting and just the frequency. Actually, one thing I learned from you, I think it was like a few weeks ago, that I started testing with one of our clients is actually reducing the amount of posts that were going out. And it was based on your study or your experience that when people were posting every single day because of the algorithm, that they actually weren't getting as much exposure as they were if they were posting, 3 to 5 times a week instead of 7+. So I tried that for a few of our clients actually. And of course we did stories in between, but the actual posts, and they're definitely getting more engagement. So that was a really good tip.
Yay! And yeah, I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm validated. But no, it is because, like you said, just really quickly, algorithmically, if you're posting every single day, and if your audience, the average audience, only tunes in once every 3 days, once a week, the algorithm now has to choose to show them 4 or 5 posts, and they're all there. If they scroll far enough back, they're all there. But they have to choose where to rank them. So they turn around and go, all right, well, we'll show them this one. And then 10 posts later, we'll show them the second one. But you may have really wanted them to see the third one, but they never saw that one because it was too far down in the feed. But had you only posted once or twice in the days since they last logged in, those 2 posts are going to be up there to be found, and they're not competing with your other content for that exposure. So it keeps your engagement and reach up on each individual post, and it allows you to really hone your message to make sure that those posts you're putting out are the super high quality, really clear messaging you want to convey to your audience, so that they're not getting the fluff or irrelevant content and not seeing what you really want them to see. It allows you to kind of strategize your content a little bit better and maximize those conversions and results in the long run.
Good. I never really heard about that or thought about that, like competing with your own posts.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
You learned that in the group, Mike. It's in the group. All the goods.
It's in the group.
My secret weapon. Yeah. So, man, you are a wealth of information, and I know these Instagram updates are coming faster and faster, as are all of these social media updates. So I'm so thankful, 1, for you to be up and up with it, 2, to provide this free resource in your group that's created this amazing community that also is chiming in with the challenges and also solutions that they have found for them. And it's really supported all of us to be able to do our jobs better. So thank you very much for that, first of all.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you.
And for anyone else that wants to find this special group that you too can be a member of, Jenn has the group right here on Facebook called Jenn's Trends. And we have the group link here in the comments right there, that you can join and participate and get all the goods and insights on Instagram. So thank you so much, Jenn, for your time today.
Thank you,
You're amazing. Love you.
Of course. Thank you so much, everybody. And yes, stay tuned for August 25th, as we talked about at the beginning of the show.
One more time,
which does have Instagram in it, but it has all things social media. We have a section on influencer marketing. We have, content strategies, calendar planning, all those sorts of things. I mean, it's literally got everything you could think about in terms of building social media strategy. So if you need help with that, be sure to check out the book at social media.
Let everybody know who the we is in there with you.
Oh, yes, we. Because there's a few other people, I didn't do it myself. So Eric Butow was the kind of the lead author. He was our lead on the group. And then it was Mike Alton, Stephanie Liu, Amanda Robinson, and myself. And then Mike, Steph, Amanda, and myself make up the 360 marketing squad. So we kind of came together and said, hey, let's do this as a whole collaborative project. So it was really fun to work with our friends, and just we were talking in the green room. It was so easy to put everything together because we all know our strengths and our weaknesses and what we're good at. And so it made the book writing process really easy. And it also meant I only had to write a few chapters, not a whole book. So if you want to write a book, something to think about.
Divide and conquer. Yeah. Mike's like, I got this down. He's on like book number 72 or something at this point.
Right.
Meanwhile, I need to take your advice and get it done. But yeah, no, it's awesome. So it's the best of the best. All of you guys are really a wealth of information in your zone of genius, and you're taking just the advice that is all about really the technique that you're using, not just the tools, right? And I think that's what's powerful about it, because it's something that's going to be around for a while, not just like, oh, here's this update on Instagram, but really how you can approach each of the areas of social. So I'm excited to share it out, as well as purchase this book, because I know all you guys have all the goods. So check it out. We put the link here in the notes and comments, I should say, and it's socialmediabook.shop to check it out, and you'll be hearing more, seeing more about it. But thanks again, Jenn, for joining in with us this week on Magnet Marketers, where goals always help you become a magnet with your marketing versus being a bullhorn. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks, everyone, for joining in with us today. Enjoy the rest of your week. See ya.